I need you to understand something. I am not crazy. For 3 years, I have debated telling this story. 3 years of sleepless nights, second-guessing everything I witnessed, but I cannot stay silent. On June 24, 2009, the night before the world was told Michael Jackson died, I saw something that changed my life forever. What I witnessed that night on Carrollwood Drive convinced me of one thing: Michael Jackson did not die in that house. He was taken. And I watched it happen. Let me give you the full picture, because context matters. I need you to understand who I was before this happened, because I was the last person who would have believed something like this possible. In 2009, I was a private security contractor in Los Angeles, working high-profile clients and celebrity events for about 6 years. I was practical, skeptical, ex-military, the kind of guy who laughed at conspiracy theories and called UFO believers intellectually lazy. That was me. That was my entire personality. So when I tell you what happened, I need you to really sit with this. This experience didn't confirm what I already believed. It shattered everything. My worldview completely destroyed. Everything I thought I knew about reality, about what's possible, about the nature of the world we're living in, all of it became uncertain. Everything I was skeptical of became undeniable, irrefutable. That transformation didn't happen gradually over months or years. It happened in a single night. In a few moments I can still feel in my chest, that rewrote my entire understanding of existence itself. Through professional connections I still won't name publicly, I ended up working perimeter security adjacent to Holmby Hills on June 24th. My job was simple: walk the perimeter, watch for press, keep civilians away from a flagged stretch of road. I was told it was a film production. I was told the lights were equipment testing. I was told a lot of things that night, all absolute lies. Looking back, I see how carefully the story had been constructed, how much preparation went into positioning me exactly where I needed to be, seeing exactly what needed to be seen. It was around 11:40 when I first noticed the silence. Los Angeles is never truly silent, but that's the only way to describe it. The ambient noise, distant traffic, insects, the low-frequency hum of civilization just stopped, like someone had pressed mute on the entire world. I felt it before I heard anything. This pressure behind my ears, like descending on an airplane, but more intense, almost painful. I pressed my fingers against my temples because I genuinely thought I was having a medical episode. Then I saw the light. It didn't appear suddenly, that's what haunts me still. It didn't streak across the sky or descend dramatically. It simply became visible, as if it had always been there and my eyes had just become capable of processing it. Positioned maybe 200 feet above the adjacent property, completely stationary. And it was producing a color I have no word for. Not white, not blue. It existed in a spectrum human language hasn't developed vocabulary for, because human eyes were never supposed to see it. I froze. I am a trained security professional with military experience, and I froze completely. My radio was heavy in my hand, and I could not make myself press the button. I could not make myself speak. I just stood there behind a low stone wall, partially concealed, watching this thing hover in perfect, impossible stillness above the California earth. Everything I had been trained to do, assess, communicate, respond, every protocol in my professional muscle memory simply vanished. I was reduced to nothing but a pair of eyes, watching something that should not be possible. Then I saw the figure walking across the property toward the light. Dark clothing, a black jacket with something glinting at the shoulders. He moved with deliberate grace, that specific, unmistakable posture. The slight forward lean. The fluid quality of each step, like gravity, was merely a suggestion. I had watched hours of footage of this man moving through the world. I knew instantly, before my brain could construct any rational argument, exactly who was crossing that lawn. I pressed myself lower behind the wall. My heart hammered so hard I could feel it in my jaw. I was terrified, not of Michael Jackson walking across that lawn at midnight, but of what hovered above him. This object that should not exist. This light that should not exist, hovering in violation of every physical law I understood to be absolute. Watching an impossible object is one thing. Watching it position itself above a specific human being, watching that being walk toward it as if they were meeting, that is something else entirely. He stopped about 30 feet beneath the light. This is the part I've replayed 10,000 times because what happened next defied every abduction scenario I'd never expected to witness. He did not look afraid. He did not look coerced. His face tilted upward toward that impossible light, and from 70 yards away, I could see his arms extended at his sides, palms open and facing up. It looked like relief. It looked like someone who had been running for a very long time, finally being allowed to stop. A beam descended. I know how that sounds. I know exactly how that sounds, and I have made peace with it. It was not a cartoon laser. It was more like the air itself. The space between the craft and where he stood became luminous, became thick with that same unnamed color I still cannot name. The space itself was transforming. The air was becoming something else entirely. Something that was not air anymore. And within that column of altered space, that impossible geometry, he began to rise, slowly at first. Then, with increasing speed, lifting beyond what any of us thought possible. Within 40 seconds of that beam making contact with the ground around him, Michael Jackson vanished. The craft was gone. The light was gone, all of it. Not fading gradually or ascending slowly, simply gone. One moment it existed. The next, nothing. The sky turned black. The property went dark. The pressure behind my ears released with an almost audible pop, and the sounds of Los Angeles flooded back like a wave. I crouched behind a stone wall in Holmby Hills, completely alone, shaking so violently I dropped my radio into the dirt. I was alone, completely alone on that property. The sounds returned first, traffic in the distance, dogs barking, the city's baseline hum, normal, mundane, utterly surreal. I tried to stand and couldn't. My legs wouldn't respond. My hands shook so badly I couldn't pick up the radio I dropped. I was hyperventilating. But it wasn't panic. It was shock. The physical manifestation of someone whose understanding of reality had just been fundamentally altered. I sat there for 10 minutes, just breathing, just existing, trying to construct any possible explanation for what I had witnessed. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my car in a Westwood parking structure and stared at concrete until sunrise, building explanations. A drone, a film effect, someone resembling Michael Jackson. I demolished every alternative I could conceive, none held. No 2009 drone was that size, that silent, that precise. No film effect produces light in colors that don't exist, and nobody moves the way Michael Jackson moved. I tested every hypothesis. Every single one failed. The next morning, June 25th, I was eating breakfast at a Culver City diner when the news broke. Michael Jackson found unresponsive. Michael Jackson rushed to UCLA Medical Center. Michael Jackson pronounced dead. The diner went silent. A woman 2 stools down started to cry. The coffee cup in my hand felt like it weighed 40 pounds. I felt sick, not just grief, though there was that. He was a monumental artist. The world losing him was a genuine loss. But I felt sick because I understood immediately what was happening. I understood immediately. They needed a body or the appearance of one to close the loop, to explain the absence, to give the world a funeral, a grave, an ending so nobody would search for a beginning. A person cannot simply vanish on a Tuesday night and never be seen again. The world asks questions. Investigations open. The disappearance becomes the story. But if that person dies, if a body is produced, if a coffin is buried, if the official narrative locks in place, then the world stops asking. The mystery is solved. The ending is written. I spent the following months doing quiet, careful research. I couldn't broadcast what I'd seen. I couldn't go to authorities. What would I even tell them? So I talked to exactly 3 people about what I witnessed. All of them were close friends with the kind of backgrounds that gave them frameworks for processing unconventional information. One of them had worked in aerospace engineering. One of them had spent years studying reported contact phenomena. One of them was a former intelligence analyst. All 3 of them told me essentially the same thing. Reports of this nature, individuals with global visibility being extracted, appear far more frequently in classified documentation than the public will ever know. The exchange of certain individuals possessing specific abilities, artistic, energetic, whatever designation applies, has been documented at the highest governmental levels and systematically buried. All 3, independently, suggested the same thing. What I'd witnessed was not unique, not unprecedented, simply classified, simply unknown to everyone except those at the absolute apex of certain governmental and perhaps non-governmental structures. Now here is where I want to spend a moment, because I have done this research for 3 years and I want to share what I found with you. What I discovered was a framework for understanding why someone like Michael Jackson would be of interest to an advanced, non-human intelligence. The energy that Michael Jackson produced through his art, the specific emotional frequency of it, the way his performances created genuine physiological responses in hundreds of thousands of people simultaneously. This has been described in certain fringe academic circles as a form of large-scale consciousness alteration, a deliberate tuning of human awareness on a massive scale. His concerts were documented events, meticulously documented, of mass emotional synchronization. Hundreds of thousands of people, all experiencing the same emotional shifts simultaneously, the same physiological responses cascading through their bodies in perfect time, synchronized in frequency and resonance. That kind of coherence, that unified resonance across such a massive population, is genuinely rare in human experience. It's measurable. It's documented in the research. And according to the credible researchers I found, people publishing in legitimate journals, it's exactly the kind of phenomenon that would register as significant. That would command attention. That would be of profound interest to intelligences operating beyond our current technological baseline. The kind of intelligences that would be watching, listening. People who study contact phenomena have long theorized that advanced non-human intelligence would be specifically interested in individuals capable of producing and conducting that kind of collective human resonance, not to harm them, not to exploit them, but to recruit them, to extract them from a civilization that remains fragmented, still deeply divided, still struggling to learn how to unify itself, to take someone with that rare ability, the capacity to synchronize human consciousness at massive scale, and place them deliberately in a context where that ability could be channeled for something far larger than themselves. Michael Jackson was arguably the single most powerful individual in recorded human history. No other artist, performer, or person demonstrated the capacity to synchronize consciousness across such vast populations with such intensity and consistency. His impact was global. His reach, unprecedented. His ability to move human emotion and physiology in unison across continental distances through recorded performance is documented and measurable. If an advanced intelligence sought the one human being capable of conducting large-scale consciousness resonance, the answer would be obvious. It would be him. Look at Michael Jackson's final years before 2009. What you see is a man in decline, hunted by systems designed to isolate him. Scandals, real or manufactured, legal battles, media crucifixion, increasing withdrawal, increasing isolation. What I'm suggesting, what 3 specialists confirmed, is that he was being softened, prepared, made willing to leave. Because extraction is easier when the target already suffers, when their environment becomes hostile and unbearable, when they're ready to disappear. And this brings me back to the moment I keep replaying. He walked toward that light with acceptance, with relief, with open palms extended, not because he was coerced, not because he was unaware of what lay ahead, but because he chose to, because the conditions of his existence in this world had become unbearable, suffocating, and he was being offered an alternative. He was being offered extraction from a dying world. He was being offered transcendence. He was being offered passage to participate in something infinitely larger than himself, something beyond our comprehension. And he said yes. Without hesitation, he said yes. I spent 3 years silent, then 3 years asking, why carry this alone? What am I protecting by staying quiet? I realized my silence was complicity. It was participation in the cover story. By saying nothing, I maintained the machinery that locked this event into the past, that prevented questions, that protected the official narrative. So I'm breaking my silence now, not because I expect immediate belief, but because this is too important to keep hidden. I know the limitations of my testimony. I have no video, no photographs, no physical evidence for analysis, only my account of what I witnessed. But I offer you this: specificity, detail, consistency. I am not making vague claims or speaking in generalities. Every element, the time, location, visual characteristics, the figure's body language, the progression is specific, testable, falsifiable. I'm offering it knowing it will be questioned, doubted, picked apart. That's precisely why it matters. Michael Jackson disappeared June 24, 2009. Official death announced June 25th. A body appeared. A funeral closed the narrative. The world never asked the obvious question: what if death wasn't the event, but the cover story? What if the real event was extraction and everything after designed to protect that fact? What if one of the most talented, powerful humans who ever lived didn't die at all? What if he transcended, ascended, was taken somewhere to participate in something larger than this dying civilization could offer. I don't know what happened to Michael Jackson after he was taken. I don't know if he's still alive, still conscious, still himself. But I know this. The human being who walked toward that light on June 24th, 2009, was not meant to die in a bedroom on Carrollwood Drive. His purpose was larger. His resonance was planetary. His ability to conduct consciousness was unprecedented. If an advanced intelligence was searching for any human to extract from this world, he would have been the inevitable choice. The only choice. I'm telling you this because truth matters, because Michael Jackson matters, because the official narrative is not always the true one. I don't expect belief. I expect questions. I expect doubt. I expect investigation. Look at what we think we know about June 25th, 2009. Does the official story hold together? Does it address every question, or does it leave convenient gaps? This isn't about conspiracy. This is about truth. And truth is something we each must discover ourselves. What I saw on the night of June 24th, 2009, what I witnessed with my own eyes, changed my life forever. It fundamentally altered my understanding of what is possible. It shattered my understanding of the nature of reality itself. And if the account I've given you tonight changes how you understand that night, that specific date, that event, then my 3 years of silence will have been worth breaking. The question is not whether you believe me. The question is, what do you believe actually happened? And more importantly, what are you willing to question about the world you thought you knew?